Welcome to the Frequency Advantage podcast, the future of wellness. We're here to make sense of the science and simplicity behind energy, frequency, and vibration in a way that actually fits into everyday life. Because now is the time to understand how frequencies can help you feel better, live clearer, and create real change from the inside out. Let's dive in.
Hey there, welcome to the Frequency Advantage podcast with your host, me, Marcus, and the amazing Sally Estlin. Great to have you here, Sally, and this is exciting.
It is exciting, Marcus. Strap yourself in for the ride ahead, hey?
Absolutely, because we are going to make sense, or try and make sense of the science and simplicity behind energy, frequency, vibration in a way that fits into everyday life. And we're here to start a conversation about all things frequency. And I don't know about you, but I think this is really, really critically important right now for our time. I just think it's so important.
It is. It's the future of wellness, right? It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
I think people are ready for it too, because frequency, it might be a buzzword out there at the moment, but when you feel it, listening to really nice music, it helps.
Well, I think it's something we've done all our lives, right? I mean, it's something we do with our children. Remember when your kids were babies, my kids were babies, and, you used to play lullabies and play beautiful soft music to help them to sleep and to calm them and to all of that sort of stuff. So frequency's been part of our lives, for all of our lives. And I think you're right. Frequency can put us into all sorts of states, There are some great songs that'll make you cry, and there's songs that'll make you laugh, and there are songs that'll maybe even make you angry. But I think, we want to dive into the deeper aspects of sort of how frequency works, in particular how frequency plays out, and maybe even how we can use frequencies to enhance our lives, to amplify our vitality, and to help us to create, the life that we maybe dream of. I think that's the opportunity, right, Sal?
Absolutely. So what drew you into frequencies, Marcus?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, for most of my life, I've been drawn into frequency probably from a music point of view. I've always loved sort of music. I played guitar and, I've been a little bit musical. I wouldn't say I play awfully well, but give it a go. But I think it was when I went on a healing journey that really sort of got me looking at the frequency type experience. 30 years ago, being a corporate Jedi, and eventually giving myself chronic fatigue syndrome. And really the medical world sort of gave up on me. They took copious amounts of blood, and each time it came back with nothing, that I was theoretically well, but I knew I wasn't well. I knew I was really sick, and it wasn't until I sort of stumbled across some beautiful integrative medicine doctors who then led me to kinesiology, and it really was the kinesiology that sort of started the journey, because while I was having sessions, the person that I was working with me used tuning forks and all sorts of other weird, wonderful things, donging things over me and little bells, and and at the time I thought, well, this is all just craziness. Like, what is going on here? But after the second session, I was 50% better, and I said, well, this is crazy. I've got to learn about this. Like, I've got to try and understand it. And I suppose that started the journey with frequency. And really in the last 10 years, last 5 years, maybe, I've just spent, a lot of my time researching and diving into it. And, like so many people do, buying all sorts of bits of equipment and bits of tech, and, but then realizing that, that the tech, wasn't quite what I personally needed. And I just started to love it. I worked with clients with it, and they got huge, amazing, incredible results. And I was getting incredible results in my family. And it was just all of these things just happening that just got me so passionate about this topic and how we should all have access to it. So, and what was it that got you sort of into this, but also excited and passionate about it? Because I know how passionate you are.
Yeah. A bit of a similar story, really. Back in the 90s, I was diagnosed with a bit of a bad illness. And so I started down the whole alternative therapies and using homeopathics, actually. And I really was drawn to homeopathics, and they really turned the corner for me. And so I was very interested in that and natural therapies. And then, in the past couple of years, frequencies came up on the dial, and I thought it's the next step on for me from homeopathics. And just finding the purity in them, how powerful, but also so practical. I'm a very practical person. I like stuff that I can relate to. I just frequencies, and like you, I've got a musical background, and I was just really always. I love vibes of stuff, right, with people, things, and music, and frequencies. Taking that on quantum steroids, if you like, just onto the next level. Just really powerful, and I think it's very progressive. It's time now for this sort of
I agree
modality to be adopted by people.
I know, I totally agree. And that whole sort of tag we talk about being the future of wellness, I think, when you start to understand the quantum physics nature of frequency and how, so many quantum physicists are now saying, well, everything's frequency, the old Nikola Tesla and some of the ancient, civilizations already knew this information, and now we're just sort of reactivating it and re-engaging with it. Because when you do realize that at the fundamental nature of quantum physics are these, incredible little strings vibrating, you then realize that everything that's created is created out of those vibrations, those frequencies. And therefore, if that's the case, if something is in a disharmonic state, is what we call it, then putting it back into a harmonic state is going to repair that thing, bring that thing back into, into wellness, basically. And so, we're seeing so much of that. So I think it is, super exciting what we can actually do with frequency and how we can use it in our everyday lives. And I don't think there's a day that goes by now that I don't use it at some level. I was actually using it this morning. I had to go onto a live event, another live event I was running, and I got the sneezes. And they're almost like, I have this thing in our family, Sal, which is kind of a bit weird and bizarre, but I'll open up for it even in podcast one, is that we have this sneezing fit thing that happens. My mum has it and her mum had it, and now I've got it, and where you just it's almost uncontrollable sneezing, right? For sneeze after sneeze after sneeze, and they're violent. Like, they're incredibly violent. I came out of a few sneezes this morning, like aches and pains, going, oh my God. But rather than sort of trying to deal with that in any other way, I just played frequencies. I've created a beautiful sinusy frequency for myself, and instantly it stopped. And every day I'm reminded how powerful this is. And I know the sinus thing is just something silly and maybe a bit, but these are violent, sneezy episodes I get, and I often get asthma from it as well, which is kind of weird and bizarre. But the frequencies just stopped it instantly. It's just amazing. So where have you found that sort of thing? Like, I mean, before we start talking about how we've worked with clients and all that sort of, what have you found personally for you? What are some of,
I'm the same. I use them every day, but here's a really out there story. Just let's throw it into episode one. But a couple of months ago, and I had massive pain, stomach cramps during the night. And so I literally tuned into a frequency that I thought would help. And I didn't even play it. I tuned into it. Used that, and within 20 minutes, I reckon the pain just completely went. Like,
fantastic.
That is, it's giving me goosebumps talking about it. But this is introduced episode one, how powerful these are.
And I think over, what we really want to do with this podcast, because as you can probably tell, both Sal and I are quite passionate about this, and I'm holding myself back a little bit from jumping out of my skin that we're actually doing, sharing this sort of stuff. But I think, we want to share the journey and how it might help you in your life. Even with the simplest things like a sneeze or a tummy ache or something, just how amazingly effective this is. And I think we will share this idea of consciousness technology, which Sal was sort of alluding to, and even how powerful it is just using consciousness to amplify and activate these frequencies. And once you get to understand frequency, once you get to use frequency, then activating this sort of idea of consciousness technology does amazing things to it, or for us. And even without actually having the frequency, in sort of physical form or sounding, it can still have an amazing effect. But because I think frequency does dovetail and work with consciousness. And that in fact consciousness is a frequency. And if you're thinking not just esoterically consciousess, but even thought processes, and we know that they hold frequency, right? We know that we can measure the brain frequencies through the EEGs, and we can understand brain frequencies. So it's not a big jump to say, well, consciousness and awareness and must have a frequency as well, right? Whether it's actually measured or not measured, it has to have a frequency with it. And so if we tweak, change, harmonize that frequency, that's got to change all sorts of things in our life.
It's so exciting to be talking about this and bringing it to people, because yes, we can work with stress and anxiety and inflammation. Yes, but there's so much more. The possibilities are limited.
And without being a bit cliche, there's almost nothing that frequency can't help. I mean, everything has its sort of boundaries, but if frequency is at the core of all of creation, then theoretically, there's nothing that frequency can't support, help, realign, reharmonize, there's nothing it can't support. And I think it's a great adjunct to anything that you do. And I think you and I would be, we would be wise enough to say that whatever you're dealing with right now, don't stop whatever protocols you're doing, right? I think frequency is just a great adjunct, a great amplifier to help with anything that might be going on in your life or in anyone's life, and really support the reharmonization and, stabilization of someone.
I think it's just part of your personal care these days. So.
I agree. It becomes your sort of little first aid kit in a way. And just apply it when you need to apply it. I think that's a great way to put it. But we're both incredibly enthusiastic about it, just because of what we've seen, and not just with ourselves, right? Because both you and I see external clients. And are seeing the effects of this, positive effects for our clients. And I think over the next few episodes, we might share some of this. We're going to have some special guests come on, other frequency experts, other leaders in the industry. We're going to interview some practitioners, both that, you and I know very well, and get them to share their experience of the frequency journey, both from a personal point of view, but also a client experience point of view. And I think, what's going to be important, Sel, is that we do share the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. Like, it's kind of funny, because when you watch some of the social media channels, YouTube and Facebook and TikTok, and some of these channels that are quite promoting frequency, you can find a lot of frequency stuff on. Not many of them ever talk about the potential negative effects of frequency, and how we do need to be a bit sort of careful with it because of just how incredibly powerful it is. So I think we'll be sharing all of that, right, Sal?
Yes, I think it's just about having respect for what we're working with, the energy of the frequencies. So
I think that's important, because we do need to treat this with respect, because of just how amazing, when you get the precise, specific frequency. A lot of these channels, I think, on social media are sharing very broad range frequencies. They're sharing it in probably not the most pure way possible, right? Because they're creating music as a delivery, or maybe they're playing just the single frequency, but often it's not in the most purest form, so it tends to be sort of fairly sort of safe. But once you get into the therapeutic nature of this, which obviously we'll have a talk about, then you do need to show that respect, and I know we've had a few people we've worked with who have got a little enthusiastic about it, let's put it that way, right? And they can end up with a bit of a healing crisis, or a few of those little things that can happen.
A few little hiccups along the way. And what I love, Mark, is that you bring in sort of like a sciencey sort of explanation for what's going on, and I'm a bit more practical and relatable to on the street.
Which I love, and let's dance with that. And I think that's why I'm excited about this podcast with you, Sal, because you do bring that aspect to it, and we can be really practical, we can be a bit scientific, we can be a bit quantum physics in it, and we can a little bit woo woo. Why not? I think at the end of the day, we both want it to be really practical for you. And that you can start to understand it, learn it, and maybe even start to use it in your life as a really beautiful, amazing tool to help you to come back into harmony. And I think when we're in a harmonic state, Sal, that we tend to be a more vibrant, vital, healthy version of ourselves. And when we're in a disharmonic, state, that's when I think issues can arise. And I think that's, both, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, maybe, harmony. When we have that harmony, I think all manner of, good things start to appear, and everything sort of comes back into alignment and in sync and coherence.
Yeah. I always say we're not here for a long time, so let's make it a good time. So let's enjoy our days.
Yeah.
And just can help do that, right?
Exactly. And I think right now on the planet, we are going through a bit of a collective sort of, destabilization and disharmonic sort of resonance. And I'm sure, you would agree that, things are sort of not as calm and gentle as they were maybe back in the 80s or the 90s or, back in those other eras. This is definitely a very sort of, I don't know, shaky or unsure. And there's a lot of people in, fear and worry and concern about what's being created in our environment, certainly in sort of the Western countries. But I think that's global across the world. There's all sorts of stuff happening, let alone, some of the astrological things that are happening, or the geological things that are happening. I think we've just gone through a spate of, volcanic activity and earthquakes and all sorts of stuff is, really shaking things up a little bit. We've had lots of sunspots and all of those things. And so I think now is the time, like you said at the start, now is the time to sort of share a really beautiful tool that can help bring some stability and harmony into an environment, a global environment that is a bit destabilized and unsure. And I think this is definitely a good time to be, understanding and learning some of this stuff.
Yeah, we just invite our listeners to be curious and to be open, and just to sit back and listen and learn, and then perhaps start to apply the simple small steps to start to go, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we go through, maybe we'll share some of these frequencies with you and some of the experiences with you. And again, we're going to have some beautiful, amazing people. We're going to interview some of the leaders around the planet in this, some of the scientists and some of the, a more esoteric version and energetic version of this, and a really beautiful mix so that we can get all aspects of this and all sides to, to frequency. That's going to help us to understand it better and then be able to apply it into our lives. At the end of the day, I want everyone on the planet to be more harmonic, with themselves, with each other, with the world. And I think that's going to lead to a much, much better place for us to exist in. So I'm excited about that.
I'm so excited to get this happening, to get it out. This is episode 1, ka-ching, and let's strap ourselves in and go for this ride, Or as you say in the theme park. So
absolutely. We're on this beautiful, crazy ride, and let's help and support each other. And I think the other thing we're going to invite is any comments, questions that you'd like to ask that we can answer. If there's anyone you'd like us to interview or you'd like to find out more about, but certainly any questions you might have, please feel free to place it in the comment section of, wherever you're seeing this or listening to this podcast replay. And we'd love to make this as interactive as possible, right, Sal?
Absolutely. Getting down and dirty and, just seeing what people are interested in. We'd love to get our hands dirty and, find out, what people are curious about, what questions they want answered, what concerns they might have, or, what's drawing them in, because we felt that call, that draw in towards the frequencies as the future of wellness, and, what's drawing them in too.
And that could be a good first question to ask. So if you're watching this and, we'd love you to put a comment down. What is it that drew you into it? I mean, you've heard my story of, chronic fatigue, and you've heard Sally's story of, having a health concern, and that really led us to this. And then I think we just got crazy passionate about it. And A, because we find it's absolutely fascinating. B, because we got a result out of this and some, profound, success, and because of the clients we've been working with and what we're actually seeing happening out in the world. I think that just got us more and more excited that we wanted to share this with as many people as possible. And of course, that led to the podcast. But love to know from you, what is it that has drawn you towards frequency or the topic of frequency? Is it just out of interest? You're fascinated with the idea of it? Is it because you're searching for support and help? Or have you had a frequency experience that you went, oh my Lord, this is amazing, and I have to know more, I have to understand more? I'd love to know. Love you to share, give us a comment. Let us know. What was it that has brought you here and fascinates you about the amazing world of frequency? I think that could be fun, right?
Absolutely. We're just about building awareness, and, teamwork makes the dream work. So let's bring everyone into this beautiful group.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think we'd love you to share this podcast with, friends, family, colleagues, anyone you think would, benefit from, understanding frequency more, hearing from some of the world's best, and maybe even learning about frequency and, being able to then apply it, to you. I think please share. We'd love you to get this message out, because it is the future of wellness, and we need everybody to, to hear about it. So that would be cool.
Yep, it's time. Well, thank you.
It is time. Hey, Sal, this is exciting. I'm so excited we're here together doing this, and you're such a great advocate for frequency, and so passionate and excited about it. And I just love that about you, Sal. And you definitely become infectious with your enthusiasm and passion. So I'm sure that's going to help all our listeners. So thank you for being here.
Bring it on, Marcus.
Bring it on. So here we go. Strap in, hold on to your hats. We're going to dive deep into frequency. So look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Again, thank you, Sally, for being here. And can't wait.
All right, everyone. We'll see you
next week. Thanks. See you soon. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us on the Frequency Advantage, the future of wellness. Keep exploring, keep learning, and most of all, keep raising your vibration. See you next time.